Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to another awesome episode of On the Throttle with Jackie Van Ham and my buddy Josh out here bringing you all of the breaking news going on out here in motorcycles and power sports. For today's episode, we're going to chat about a motorcycle that I have the good fortune of going to go ride in the beautiful Texas sunshine, and that is the brand spanking new Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650. And I'm going to be talking about the end of an era for the folks over at Triumph. Josh, what do you got going on in your neck of the woods?
Mine's going to sound different, but go with it. First off, World Superbike may teach us what happens if you're hauling around an extra 50-pound bag of human. And then secondly off of that is if you still want to go fast, but can no longer get your head down by your butt, Ducati may have a solution for you.
Well, I certainly cannot wait to hear what on earth you are talking about today, Josh, but we're all going to have to wait after this word from our sponsors.
They tell you, wait your turn. Don't push. Stay in your lane. Be sensible. Keep it steady. Follow the crowd. Be logical. Dial it down. Stay consistent. Take no risks. Some of us just say no. Welcome to the Racing Squad.
And thanks again to the folks over at Penn Grade and Piaggio, rocking us out at the very beginning of the program. I love that. That's the great way to kick off the show. So let's go ahead and dive into my first topic for today. And this is, as I mentioned at the very top of the program, a little bit of a ride review because I did have the good fortune of being invited down to beautiful Texas to go ride the brand new Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650 with the folks at Royal Enfield. We had a great handful of days talking about the bike, learning about the history of the brand, and then all said and told, we spent about 8 hours riding around on one of the days that we were down there. So I definitely had plenty of quality time aboard the seat of this very cool new cruiser, as you can see from the slide on your screen. Indeed, Royal Enfield is jumping into the cruiser space. Along with everybody else, it seems like everybody's cranking out a cruiser nowadays, but this is where it gets a little bit interesting. I have to admit that my familiarity with Royal Enfield is usually aboard some of their single bikes. I've ridden a 500 Bullet, I've ridden the little Continental GT, I've ridden some of their smaller bikes, and I hadn't had the chance yet to ride the new 650 Twin, which they released like about 2 years ago with that INT, and then I think the Continental is, or no, not the Continental, it's the INT, and I can't remember what the other bike is, but it's the very cool kind of like naked cafe racery looking bikes. Well, I unfortunately just had not had the chance to ride those bikes yet, so this is my first chance to experience that platform, and I was shocked, super pleasantly surprised. Very, very smooth power, really, really nice gearbox. Again, this is the 650 Twin. This is a relatively new power plant from the folks over at Royal Enfield. Again, really nice, smooth shifting, smooth gearbox, not clunky like the usual. If you're familiar with the V-twin cruisers on the market, they can be very, very clunky shifting. This was really nice, incredibly smooth, really good power on tap, and not too twitchy. Actually, not twitchy at all. Again, the word that kept coming up to me during the ride was how smooth this bike is. The fit and finish is also really quite nice. It went down the road really well. And then the one thing that everybody wanted to know is this really, very nice looking, very well behaved, well mannered cruiser. What's going to be the price tag for this bike? Well, this bike is going to be showing up at dealerships at $6,999. That's right. For under $7,000, you can get into the cruiser category. Now, the slide on your screen right now, that is me riding it. So you can see for scale, my 5'2" fitting on that 650 Twin. That bike does have a couple of more tour accessories on it. It does have a windshield, and there's a couple little things available. The windshield bike, the tour pack bike, is at $7,500. but it still feels like a lot of bike for not a lot of money. I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time. The bike weighs about 750 pounds. 700, I'm sorry, 750. I'm thinking of Harley Davidson. This bike weighs 530 pounds, a huge difference. So nice and light. So I thought this was really perfect for people that maybe are getting into motorcycling. I thought this is a really ideal first bike for people, but I could also see this being in the stable of people that have much bigger bikes that just want something a little smaller, a little simpler, a little bit more straightforward to cruise around on. I really, really enjoyed this bike. The seat height on this was also a little bit of a surprise. The seat height on this was 29 inches. Most cruiser bikes are around 25 to 26. And I do think that that has a lot of the appeal of the cruiser category, is the fact that they ride nice and low. This was a 29. Now, I have a 27-inch inseam. I definitely had to tiptoe a little bit, but it wasn't totally out of hand. I still was absolutely felt in control. It did not feel very top heavy. It being slightly taller did one really cool thing, though, which made this bike feel and behave a lot more nimble and a lot more agile than traditional cruisers, and that I really liked. In typical cruiser fashion, this also does have semi-forward controls. I hate to say forward controls for this bike because they were still in a really quite neutral position, but your feet were still in front of you. Yeah, and that was the 650 Super Meteor. I really, really loved it. I really had a great time. The bikes are gorgeous. $7,000. What's not to love? Josh, what do you think about this 650 Super Meteor from Royal Enfield?
It's interesting. I mean, Royal Enfield's going after a unique spot with this, and I mean they've got this. I don't want to say it the bargain necessarily on this, but that's what they're going for with this. The fact that to me there are so many Sportster and Triumph styling cues in this, those are, I mean, those to me are just big cues. It's almost like what happens if you left those two alone in the garage at night, and 9 months later you get this. To me, to looking at it though, I mean, it's a good looking bike. I'm sure it's going to find its niche. Royal Enfield's done a great job of placing their bikes right where people want them, and I'm pretty sure this one's going to be the same.
Yeah, so it also has just a couple of numbers and stats I want to throw at you. This has 47 horsepower, which for bikes being in this segment, in this space, that's a pretty legitimate number for a 650 twin that only weighs, just over 500 pounds. That's a pretty good amount of juice for that weight ratio. The last thing that this bike had that I did want to touch on, because I thought that this was really interesting. Well, that's two things. One, the American V-Twin Performance Company is in a partnership, S&S is in a partnership with Royal Enfield, and they are selling hop up and go fast goodies for this engine. So for those of you that think 47 horsepower isn't quite enough, you can click on over and go talk to the folks at S&S, because I bet you they've got a little bit of a big bore kit waiting for you over there. The other thing that I thought was really clever with this bike is to be at that price point, you're going to realize that this bike is not going to have a ton of bells and whistles. That being said, there was a lot of metal on this bike, not plastic. The fit and finish was really nice. Everything felt very solid, had really nice suspension going on. And another cool thing that I haven't seen a lot of, maybe I just haven't paid attention to, but I don't think I've seen a lot of it, and I thought it was really, really smart, is Royal Enfield has an app, and they're using it for turn-by-turn directions that pair to a little tiny 2-inch gauge that's up on the handlebar and gives you your turn-by-turn directions from the app on the phone. Instead of doing the great big huge dash that everybody's going to, but that also bumps up that price tag, this is a really slick way to get those directions in front of you and have a little bit of, I hate to say infotainment, but kind of infotainment, without having that huge dash and price tag. And because this is kind of a simple machine, you don't need all that computer up there, right? I, for one, am not one of those people that digs on having a huge computer in front of me. So I thought that was really, really clever. I thought that was really neat. So anyway, that's my review for the folks over at Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650. All in all, a total slam dunk. High fives. I really enjoyed this bike, and I can't wait to ride it again. Now, Josh, what you got going on for your first story?
So when you talk about giant computers in front of you, that's actually going to be the second one. The first one that I'm talking about is what happens when you haul around 50-pound bag of human. And World Superbike may start looking into this. So they are introducing, it's not official yet, but it is told that they are introducing a combined weight limit rule for rider and bike starting in the 2024 season. Now, this is designed to level the playing field between lighter and heavier riders. We're going to get into that into a second. But to me, first off, this makes sense. When you look at every racing series out there on the planet, it's always with driver, with rider, with whatever. The fact that they aren't in this is obviously a big thing. Now, part of that is if we go to our next slide real quick, they are called someone dubbed this the anti-Bautista law. That would be Alvaro Bautista there on the right. He is 5'5", 123 pounds. On the left, we have Scott Redding, who rings in at 6 foot, 171 pounds. So this is what happens when you have to haul around an extra 50 pounds of human being. Now, I don't want to say that is why Scott Redding has made very, very loud claims that is the reason why Bautista's winning. I don't want to say that. That's a bit far. Bautista's obviously a very talented rider. In the same sense, hauling around an extra 50 pounds on a 400-pound motorcycle, well, that's quite a handicap. So they are looking to change that for upcoming. Like I said, Bautista's obviously super upset about this. Dude, eat a cheeseburger, you'll get over it. In this, there's some other rules that they're thinking about talking about with this. First off is a reduction in fuel tank capacity from 24 liters down to 21, basically from 6.3 gallons down to 5.5. There is going to be a new fuel flow control system, so there will be a regulation on the top amount of fuel in terms of the peak amount of fuel that's allowed into the engine at any one point in time. There's going to be RPM limits for each manufacturer that are going to be slightly different. That's no big news. There's also going to be changes to crankshaft and balance shaft issues also. I found a lot of that very interesting, but like I said, the big one that is catching all the news on this is, like I said, the anti-Bautista law. Look, if you go back, if you look at horse racing, there is a reason why it's a bunch of 3'11", 50-pound guys riding those horses. It's because it's less weight to haul around. Doing that on a motorcycle is going to give you a lot of the same effects. Now, is it as big of a difference as it's being made out to be in some cases? Probably not. The weight penalties for this have not been announced, and that is the other thing that's going to be interesting about this. If it's a slap on the wrist, no one's going to care. So they're pretty sure that whatever weight penalties there are in this are going to be deemed pretty darn severe. That all being said, the new challenges are expected to make the World Superbike motorcycles more of a challenge to ride in some cases. And that's the hope is always, always, always with rule changes to lead to closer racing. There's a lot of close races in this year to begin with, but obviously Bautista has run away pretty well with a lot of stuff. I'm going to be interested to see this. Jacqui, as someone that is shorter in stature, let's say, let's just say you and I were sitting on those identical Royal Enfield motorcycles. I am not the Jolly Green Giant, but I am a much larger parachute than you are. So it would be interesting for us to have a drag race. We should do this to prove this concept. What are your thoughts?
I agree, and then we can go eat some pizza afterward.
Correct.
So weight caps and weight balancing, and things like this have been in lots of different levels of racing for years and years now.
Always.
I understand why, because you already nailed it. What is it? 8 pounds equals 1 horsepower. It does take more bike to move more mass. I get it. It exists. I think it's
corner speed, the whole 9 yards. It's all different.
I get it. I do think that the racing is already so close and so competitive. I didn't really think it was particularly necessary, but lots of other major race organizations are already there and are already doing it. So I guess it was time for them just to step up and play in that ballpark as well. As far as the gas cap limits and gas caps that are going on, that does surprise me, because now what this leads to in my mind is, as a racer, you not only have to be like on top of the bike, maneuvering the corners, hitting your marks, doing all the things you need to do, not running over people or bonking into people. Now you've got to keep in mind also, watching that wrist a little bit, because you got to make sure you got enough gas to get through this race. So this is where I think that that's also a little curious. I saw something similar happening years ago with the folks over at American Flat Track Racing. And the way they got around that is, I think one or two teams, I think it was Breyer Bauman that did it, is they welded on an additional like 2 inch round, I don't even want to call it a disc, but anyway, like a disc on top, because that gave them an extra couple ounces of gas at the very top, because then that's what the gas went into. And it was just enough because they had run out of gas previously. They'd be on the last lap and they'd be hitting the last corner and they ran out of gas. So anyway, I think that this is interesting. We're all gonna have to wait and see how this all shakes loose. I'm definitely gonna be watching next season and seeing what happens. The first handful of races are gonna tell the whole story for
Yes,
what's
they
gonna
are.
happen for 2024 for World Superbike, and we're all gonna have to tune in. Now, for my next story, we're gonna be talking about the end of an era for the folks over at Triumph Motorcycle. But first, let's have a word from a couple of our show partners.
Do you ever think your website listings might be lacking a little oomph? I'm Joe with another pit stop pointer, and here's the scoop. Real photos of those motorcycles on your showroom, they're not just visuals, they're your strongest sales pitch. And while we're at it, let's not forget the power of a good customized description. It's SEO gold, and it's how you connect on a deeper level with your website visitors. Ready to ride the wave of optimal listings? Swing by pitstoppointers.com for a full throttle guide. And as always, keep an eye out for more pit stop pointers to help you sell more fun.
At XOTO, we set out to build the world's most stable, easy to ride, and fun electric scooter ever created. With XOTO, you get up to a 90-mile range on a charge and up to 45 miles per hour. It's the world's first front-wheel drive scooter and has self-stabilizing technology, even when you're stopped. There's no motorcycle license required, and you can purchase an XOTO electric scooter today at xotoinc.com.
Well, as I mentioned, it appears that they are giving the last call for the Triumph Thruxton. This news just hit the interwebs this last week or so. Pour one out, Josh. Pour one out for the Triumph Thruxton, this dead sexy motorcycle that's been in production recently from the folks at Triumph since 2003. This bike originated from the 1964 era when Triumph Thruxton was named after racing out at Bonneville. This motorcycle was produced, it went away, it came back in 2003, 20 years later. They are closing the curtain and producing for 2025 the final edition, the FE as it is being known. This beautiful bike is not reported to be coming in like a limited production number, but there are going to be some neat things going on with it, and that is the bike that's on your screen right now. There could be no other color for this machine other than British Racing Green, right, Josh? And this bike is an
No.
absolute stunner. For 20 years now, this bike has been nothing but just dead sexy rock and roll cafe racer goodness. But they are going to be slowly winding it out for after 2025 because the word from the folks over at Triumph from headquarters is that is what the Street Series is going to be known as going forward. That's why they're moving on out of it, is they are going to have the Street Series available in the 900 and 1200cc forms. The Speed Twin is what I meant to say. The Speed Twin is going to be kind of taking over that role. It has the 900cc or 1200cc form. It also is a sporty type bike. It's appealing to a wider range of customers thanks to its more relaxed riding position. The Thruxton is incredibly aggressive. This is a true cafe racer. You can see by the handlebars right now. And then in another picture, you can see the rear sets going on with this bike as well. This was an aggressive road racing type bike. The Speed Twin, however, is a little bit more relaxed riding position and it's cheaper. This guy is going to be coming in at about $18,000, $17,995. It is going to be a 1200cc bike with that 6-speed gearbox. Claimed horsepower for this beautiful green machine is a 103 horsepowers. As far as torque, this is going to be 82.6. So it's got plenty of get up and go, which this bike always has had. If you have not had a chance to ride this bike, do throw a leg over one before they make this guy go away because it is an absolute scream. This bike is a hoot. It is a street legal race bike in cafe racer styling, and it is absolutely dead sexy. I love this bike. I think it is absolutely beautiful. When it comes out, again, it's going to have some cool cosmetics on it. Again, they're calling it the FE for first edition. It's going to be coming in this beautiful green with some golden pinstripe going on. There's also going to be some. It's going to be signed by the CEO Nick Bloor, and then and some Thruxton design team members. A numbered certificate of authenticity comes with as well, and then that gold pinstriping is hand pin striped from the folks over at Triumph. Josh, what do you think about this beautiful bike headed for the hills?
I mean, it's a great bike. I got a buddy that has one. I mean, to me, everything has its time, and the way Triumph is celebrating the way this is leaving, I mean, go out with a bang. So yeah, why not?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely sexy. The cafe racer era is kind of winding down. It's not super on trend right this second. Winding down this series of Thruxtons is only going to make them even more collectible going forward. By the way, so buy them now if you've got the hots for one. All jokes aside, though, I think this bike is absolutely beautiful for $18,000 for kind of a cool final edition. I mean, this is a total yes from me. This is one of the sexiest bikes I've seen in a very, very long time. Josh, what you got going on for your second story?
So I believe you said that was basically 17 or $18,000, right?
Yep.
Double that, and we're still not even close to where we're going to talk about this bike. So, and if you guessed, it's from an Italian company. The Ducati Multistrada V4 RS is Ducati's new high-performance touring motorcycle, is what they're calling this. So Ducati decided that they were going to throw the excuse me, the 1103 Desmosedici Stradale V4 engine in this. Yes, from the Panigale. It's only 180 horsepower and it's only 87 foot-pounds of torque. So this also has the STM Evo dry clutch in it. They shortened the gearbox setup for improved thrust, is what they called it. It's equipped with a number of the high-end components. It's got the Olin Smart EC 2.0 suspension. It's Bosch Brembo 10.3 ME cornering ABS. It's got everything that you want with this. It has a number of features that make it, quote unquote, well suited for touring, such as the comfortable riding position, the large fuel tank, and a variety of luggage options. Now, on the flip side of that, this does have raised and rear foot pegs, or the front foot pegs for this. It's not drastic, but it's enough that if you got on this and then you got on a normal Multistrada, you'd notice the difference. The other big thing with this is it's running a titanium subframe, which is said to shave 5.5 pounds off of this bike, which to me is pretty impressive. Now, they did this in order to celebrate 20 years of Multistrada, but this has 17-inch wheels on it on both ends, instead of just the 1917 combination we're normally used to. So I'm pretty sure this is not a Multistrada. I'm pretty sure this is pavement firma is where this is geared towards. Also, due to the smaller front meatball, Ducati tightened up the front frame angle in order for faster steering on this. Now, all of the amenities, like I said, wheelie control, launch control, cruise control. I don't think it has bladder control on there, but you're probably going to need it. That being said, the starting price is expected to be around $37,995 for this track weapon that is disguised as an adventure bike. To me, I think it's super interesting. I mean, this is Ducati and BMW just having a swinging competition saying, look at what we can do. No, look at what we can do. Look at how ridiculous we can make these. And they have gotten insanely ridiculous. I love it. It is going to be interesting to see this thing on track. It's one of the things that I have to say that I found interesting about this right off the bat is this is going to embarrass a lot of people on track bikes. There are also going to be some of these at the track. They're going to get embarrassed by an R3. That is what I find hilarious about every motorcycle. It comes down to the rider. But if you still love to go fast and can no longer get your butt above your head, this is a great way to do it. If, once again, do you have 38 grand I can borrow, Jacqui?
Yeah, right. No, I'm not going to spot you 38 large for a sport bike that is wrapped up in tour and adventure garb,
Yeah,
because I'm not
it's
buying.
worth a
I'm
shot.
not buying what you're selling. Yeah, for when you might need a 180 horsepower tour machine laying around to go across America real fast and
Yeah,
shred tires. Why not?
makes
Why
sense to
not?
me.
No,
Sure.
I expect nothing less from the folks at Ducati. They love
Me neither.
nothing more than making completely bombastic machines that are
Yep.
completely bananas and are
That's
completely requiring
that's it.
a lot more wallet than I have available. So God bless
Correct.
and Godspeed to the Ducatista. Go forth and enjoy this sweet multi pavement bike, this multi pavement machine,
Yeah.
and
Multi-pavement. That is the right way to put it. Multi-pavement. I believe it can go on two types of pavement, smooth and smoother.
smooth and smoother. Tarmac and tarmacier is what it's for.
Yeah.
No, but
Yep.
it's still as gorgeous. Why not? The
For sure.
Multistrada has been such a cult bike for them. If they're
Yep.
going to celebrate a 20-year anniversary of it, I expect nothing less than
Nothing
cramming
less.
some huge V4 monster, darn near car engine into a bike frame and calling it a
Yep.
celebration.
No better way to
And
celebrate.
exactly, and that, my friends, brings us to the end of another great program. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you watching every single week out here, whether you tune in over on the YouTubes or on the Facebooks. We live hot and heavy in both locations. Make sure you go ahead and follow along. Click that like, click that subscribe, and click that share button so all of your friends can see what's going on out here in motorcycle land. Have a great day, everybody. Ride safe, and we will see you next week.